Hey guys, welcome to today's Code Camp video. Today I want to take some time to talk a little bit about variables. We're going to talk about what variables are, how do we use them, and just overall what their purpose is. Now, before I begin, I'm going to tell you guys about something called strongly typed. Java is a strongly typed language. Now, what does that mean? Now, essentially with Java, everything is memory, right? We have to think about everything in terms of memory. So before we go ahead and tell Java to create a variable, we need to first tell it how much space we need in order to store that variable and what sort of data is going to be used to be stored in that variable. Let me relate this to you in a real world scenario. Let's say, for example, you were selling a pair of shoes and someone cross country bought the pair of shoes. So now you have to ship the box over to them. So you go to the UPS store and you find a box that fits your shoes into. Now, let's say if you were shipping a fridge, would you use the same box to ship that fridge? Of course not. You're going to be using a much, much bigger box. So think about that when you think about declaring variables in Java. We need to tell Java, I need a certain size box that can hold a certain range of one type of data. Now, the data that you tell Java to hold, once you tell it to hold that data, it will not be able to hold any other types of data. Now, I've discussed data types in another video, but let's go ahead and jump into today's lesson here. So I have a package here called variables. I'm just going to go ahead and create a new Java class. I'm going to call it variables practice. Great. So again, before we declare the variable, we have to tell Java what data type we need. So let's say I need a number. So I'm going to create an int, call it x. I'm going to make it hold the value of 5. Great. So now we have our first variable. Great. So let's go to the main method. Let's open up a main method here. Let's try that again. Okay. That's a shortcut. This is another shortcut. It's quite all right. So obviously now when I go ahead and print my variable, let's go ahead and make this static so that way we can call it from the main method. Now when we go ahead and run this, obviously the value that's printed is going to be, I'll give you guys a second to guess, 5. If you guess 5, you're correct. Now, why do we use variables, right? Why can't I just say, hey, print 5, which does the same thing. Now, if we take a look, it's going to build, and it will output 5 again. So why can't we just do that? Why do we have to store 5 inside of x? Well, I'll tell you exactly why. Because when you're programming or developing a program, you're not going to have 10 lines of code. You're going to have classes that have thousands of lines of code. What if you need to call the same variable in more places than one? So, for example, let's go ahead and create a couple methods here. So I'll just create void addition. Actually, let's make it static. Okay, and then we will print out x. And over here, let's go ahead and create another variable. Great. So I just want to print out x plus y over here. And then I'll create another method called subtraction. And over here, I'll just print out x minus y. Or let's go with y minus x. Now we have another method here called multiplication. And we'll go ahead and multiply x and y. And then finally, we have a method here called division. And then we'll go ahead and print out y divided by x. Great. So what if we were doing it the original way? What if we were replacing all of our x's with 5s here? Great. let's imagine we didn't have this 5 here. Let's comment that out. Let's comment that out as well. Let's actually go ahead and delete this line. We no longer need that. Great. So I can call addition, I can call subtraction, I can call multiplication, I can call division. And let's just do this. As a matter of fact, that's quite all right. Let's just go ahead and run this. Let's see what prints out. We know it's going to print out first addition, then subtraction, then multiplication, and then division. Great. So we got the answers that we expected. 5 plus 10 is 15. 10 minus 5 is 5. 5 times 10 is 50. And then 10 divided by 5 is, of course, 2. So why can't we do it like this? Because imagine your manager comes up to you, or you get a new requirement and they say, hey, we need to change this value from 5 to, let's say, 2. What do you do then? Do you have to go through all of your thousands of lines of code to replace each instance where you use this number? That doesn't make sense, right? That's very, very tedious. So instead of that, let's just go ahead and re-enable this variable here. And look at this. Let's just replace all these 2's with x's again. Great. So we got that. Got this one and one last one right down here. So if we need to change this number to 2, all we have to simply to do is change it in one place. And now when I run this, let's give it a second. So once that's completed, we now see the output that we expect. 2 plus 10 is obviously 12. 10 minus 2 is obviously 8. 2 times 10 is 20. And then 10 divided by 2, we have 5. Great. So this was a brief rundown as to what variables are, how we use them. These are the super basics, but stay tuned for more informative videos where I'll go over how do we reassign values, and then also how we take one variable and convert it to a different data type, or get it to hold a different data type. I know I mentioned at the beginning of this video that that's not possible, but there's a little tricky way. So guys, stay tuned for the next video. Thank you so much for coming to Code Camp, and I'll see you in the next one.